Hi, this is Donna. Welcome to DD Paper Crafts. In today's video, we're going to be making this hexagonal box. I know hexagons aren't for everyone, but we are going to be making the box and the lid without dies. The box has got a faceted bottom like so, and it has a really lovely profile. It is 5 inches in height and it is 5 inches across. The box has a flip lid like so, and then the lid will just come down, and then the tabs on the lid will fit in between the sides of the box like so. This is the only project I've made of this, so there is a few hints and tips and different ways of doing things along the way. So I would suggest once we've put the box together, before you start making the lid and securing the base, you just watch the video through so you can determine how you want to move forward. So without further ado, let's get started. We're going to start with 2 pieces which are 9 by 8 inches. Along the 9-inch side, score at 1/2, 4 and 5.5. Rotate, so we've got the 1/2-inch tab at the top, and score at 7.5 from top to bottom, and then down to the second score line only, so the score line which is in line with the 4 inches, score at 2.5 and 5. Rotate 180 degrees. I've got a 1/2-inch tab on the left hand side and a 1/2-inch tab at the bottom, and we're going to score down to the first score line only, so the score line which is in line with 3.5 inches, at 1 3/4, 4 1/4 and 6 3/4. So if we rotate this, these are going to be the top tabs for the lid. This is the top section of the box. This is where we'll add our additional diagonals, and this is the base portion of the box. So do that on both of your 9 by 8 pieces. Now take your stylus and ruler. I'm going to mark with pencil where we're going to score so that you can get the idea. So from the outer edge of the cardstock, on the second score line down, we're going to score diagonally to the top of the score line here, and then we're going to do the same from the base of this score line diagonally like so. And then we're going to run from that one across to this one, across to this one, and so on and so forth. So we're going to do that all the way along. And you want to do that on both pieces. Once you've put your scoring in, fold and burnish along the horizontals and the vertical score lines. Don't need to worry about folding and burnishing along the base score lines because we're going to be cutting those, but you do want to fold along this central section here. But try not to fold into the triangle. So just take the time. I can fold that over and just burnish down. Now we're going to do our cutting, and we're going to start by creating the base section of the box. So we're going to cut up each of the score lines in the bottom section. So we'll be cutting up to the point of the triangle. And then we're going to cut up the last score line, rotate and remove that triangle and just cut a wedge into what will be the next section. Move along to the next score line, cut up to the horizontal, and then we'll just cut a wedge from the end of that small section, and then take a wedge and then move along to the next score line. So we've got this small square here. We're going to cut up to the horizontal, remove that small square and cut a wedge from the end of that glue tab. So do that on both pieces. I've got my two pieces laid out as they would be, because we'll add glue to this, join this to this, and then this bit will come round and join onto that. And we now want to cut the tabs in the top for the lid, and we want to remove one tab section on one side and two tab sections on another side, and then the lid will provide the remaining tabs so that the base and the lid all slot together. So I'm going to remove this central tab, so I'm going to cut down, along and down, which will leave two tabs on here. Therefore I'm going to move along to what will be, leave that one, remove this one, leave this one, remove this one. So you'll end up with alternate slots and alternate tabs. So I'm going to remove those. Take your time to try to get a nice neat edge along what will be the top edge of the box. And now, because it's my preference, I'm just going to go in and round off the corners of the tabs. So now our box bases are prepped, we can go in and burnish the score lines on the diagonals, and these are all going to be mounting folds. So just work your way along. I'm going to gently burnish them with my fingers to start with, and then I will go in and burnish them with my score tool. I'm using, I think this is either 310 or 350 GSM. This is from Hunky Dory. I have quite a lot of this, of varying themes, and I'm just trying to use some of the cardstock up, so hence I can go in and create my boxes with this as my base, and then just need to add on a topper and maybe a sentiment onto the side of the box. And particularly doing it this way, it means I haven't got to try and create the triangular section to go on top with my additional DSP. So it does make life a little bit easier. So that's all of our scoring done. And now we can join our boxes together. So I'm going to use red liner tape. So now we can join our box up. You can see as I go to push this down, this tab is going to go over the score line. Now ordinarily, if I were using a lighter weight base cardstock and I was going to add DSP, I would probably be able to manipulate this score line into the shape I needed once it was stuck down. Because this is a weightier cardstock and is not going to manipulate quite so well with a double layer, I'm just going to trim that glue tab down so that I can then add that glue tab into place and it's not going to interfere with the score line at all. So that's one side done. So I know that I'm going to have the same issue at this end, And in fact, if I lay this glue tab down, again, you can see that it's going to interfere with the score line. So I'm just going to trim that into shape before I bring the box around. Now I would start by adding the smaller glue tab first, like so, and then I can go in and get the larger panel, and then I'm just going to flip that up and just go in and burnish that down with my score tool. So that's our basics of our box. I'm going to make the lid now, and then once I've got my lid in place, I'm going to stick my base down. We're now going to make the lid, and I would recommend that you watch this section all the way through so you can see how the lid comes together, because we're trying to create a hexagon. There is some pencil lines, etc. And also the thing to be aware of, if it's going to bother you, is the box has got tabs this shape, and the lid, if I show you my prototype, has got tabs this shape. If that's going to bother you at all, then just have a think when you come to do the cutting of the sides how you want your tabs to look for the lid. I'm not concerned because the lid's the lid and the base is the base, but I just want to point that out before we start. For the lid for the box, we need a piece of cardstock which is 5 7/8 by 4 7/8, and on the short side, the 4 7/8 inch side, score at 1/2 inch. Rotate the cardstock, take a pencil and ruler, and it is a good idea if you can do this whilst the piece is in your scoreboard. I've just found that it's helped, but if you would prefer, you can remove the piece from your scoreboard for the pencil lines. We're going to score through the cardstock at 1 3/4 inch from top to bottom, and do the same at 4 1/4 inch. So 1 3/4 and 4 1/4 inches. Put a pencil line in from top to bottom, like so. Obviously we will remove these pencil lines, so don't do them. You don't want to do the pencil lines so that you won't be able to rub them out. So just bear that in mind. And then make another pencil line from top to bottom at 1/2 inch. And 5 1/2 inches. Take the piece from the scoreboard. So you want to line the top point, the top edge of your ruler up with the point where this score pencil line intersects with the 1/2 inch score line, like so. The corner of my ruler is right on that point. And then I'm going to rotate the ruler until the 2 1/2 inch mark on the ruler intersects with this pencil line here, and then draw your pencil line like so. So this is creating one side of the hexagon. Going to extend the line through to the outer edges of the cardstock, just because it then makes it easier when I come to do my cutting, like so. And I'm then going to place my pencil where the lines intersect. And again, if I rotate my ruler around, and I should find that the distance between the pencil mark here that I've just made and the pencil line at the bottom is 2 1/2. So we're going to draw a line in there, like so. And then I'm going to do exactly the same. Line the top of my ruler up and rotate my ruler until the 2 1/2 inch mark on the ruler is on the 1/2 inch pencil line, like so. And then finally rotate my piece and do the same in the top section, and you should find the distance from the pencil line is 2 1/2 inches if you're a smidge over it, it's not going to make any difference. So we've got our hexagon shape here. So if we take our box, so I'm going to have, this is my hinge at the back, so that's this piece. So I don't need a tab here, and I don't need a tab here, but I do need tabs on the bottom. So I need a tab here and I need a tab here. I'm going to start by taking my ruler and my stylus, and I'm going to score along these bottom pencil lines. I'm going to line this right hand side pencil line up with the cutting guide in my trimmer and trim that away, like so. Rotate and trim this top section away, and if you want to, if you think you'll find it easier, just extend the pencil line just so it's easier to line up. So I'm now going to cut down this pencil line like so, and then finally I'm going to line my pencil line up with the 1/2 inch line on my trimmer, cut that away to create a tab, and rotate and do exactly the same. So I can now go in and fold and burnish along the score lines, which there'll be 3 just before I rub the pencil lines out. So this was my hinge, so that's going to sit at the back. It doesn't matter which is the hinge, they're all the same size, so that's going to sit in there, and then these 2 tabs are going to sit in between at the top, and that's going to form our lid. So I'm going to go ahead and remove my pencil lines, and if you wanted to create a separate piece for your base, you can just fold the tabs under, use this as a template and cut a second section, which is then going to ensure that you get your base into the shape that you need. Alternatively, what you can do, I'm thinking of these things on the hoof to try and make life easy for everybody. What you can do before you stick your lid in, if you don't want to have a separate piece, if you're happy with this base, is fold and stick this piece into place and just sit your lid on the top just to see whether you're getting your base into roughly the right shape. So whilst that glue's still wet, I can push that forward to create more of the hexagon shape. So I'm then going to stick these 2 pieces in. And again, I'm just going to gently use that to make sure that I'm getting that roughly in shape without damaging anything. That's good. So I'm happy with how that's coming together. Move this around, those 2 down. Again, I can lay this on top, make sure you don't get any glue on it. That's good, that's coming together into a nice shape. And then I can stick the last 2 on. Because I'm using construction glue, I've got some wiggle room, so I can just gently hover that over the top and just make sure. It doesn't have to be accurate, it's a handmade box, so I'm happy with that. So that is one way that you could put your base together. You might want to, so you might decide that you want to add another piece onto the top, that's entirely up to you. But then I can go in and just burnish that all down. And again, you might want to cut another piece to go into the bottom on the inside, so that's an option. So now I can take the tape off my lid, add my hinge, secure that into place so that fits in there nicely. Lift that up and press that down, and that sits on there really nicely. And I think for a hexagon made without any dies, that's come together really well. I'm really happy with that. So now you can just go ahead and decorate as you so wish. I've now finished my box, decorated the box. I've got a simple topper on the top and a couple of bees on the front, and the box obviously opens like so. You can see it is still, glue's still drying inside. But overall, I'm really happy with how this box has come out. And I do think on this particular occasion, this decorated paper adds something to the overall box. So there we have today's project. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel. And until next time, thanks for watching.